Questions whenever you're ready.
Yeah, 'cause I'm a little tighter schedule day now. Yep.
The biggest thing you want now that you've not said so far that you're looking for in this team before you guys open, here in a few weeks?
We just have to continue to, kind of move forward. Everything we're doing, continue to, clean up details. Got to add some things yet. There's a lot of things you haven't added yet, from zone offenses to, making sure you clean up your out-unders. Just a bunch of little things we have to get better at. And put in first off.
Rick, in your mind right now, do you kind of have your starting rotation in mind, or is that kind of contingent on certain variables?
It's always variables. Most time players make those decisions. Players make decisions based on, eligibilities and all kind of different things. So, the way I look at this for this team, and y'all have heard me say this many times, I'm not into, who's your starters. There's probably 7 or 8 starters on this team. Those guys are in there, those last few minutes, guys that, you may want to look at differently. So who starts on this team, I won't put a lot of emphasis into that at all.
Because of that experience, do you feel like you have more options as far as lineups and shuffling things and experimenting early?
Well, I think it's very obvious, Elliot. I have a lot more opportunities to be able to move some people around. And again, this is really the first team I've had multiple guys back that's been in the program that's played meaningful minutes. Tavion's in his third, been here 2 years. Josh, he got a year and a half in. Jarrett at least played a year, and Charles has played a year. We haven't had those kind of minutes or guys been in your program since we've been here. So all that's good from that standpoint. But then some guys we've added, pieces we've added, or young men that pick up really quickly because they're experienced guys and pretty cerebral players.
Season's coming up pretty close. Do you still feel good about TD being eligible time?
Again, I don't make those decisions. If I was making decisions, he'd been eligible a long time ago. But we feel good about it. We feel like he's got great mitigating factors. So, those decisions not in our hands, so we'll just have to be patient and wait and hear when we hear, whenever that is.
Rick, Tavion's shooting percentages last year weren't close to where they were his first year. How much of that was not having some of the older players and the distributors? And where have you challenged him in terms of sort of improving his game?
Well, I've challenged him. Number one, I think last year, that's a good point that you make. It's amazing his freshman year, all those things were better. Why were they better? He had different pieces around him. He had experience around him. He had more skill level around him. That lane was open so much more, too, for him to do what he does. Last year, he was in a totally different role, probably a role that wasn't as easy for him as he maybe anticipated after his freshman year had so much success. And again, the pieces we had around him didn't fit as well. There wasn't a lot of openings in that lane. It's pretty cluttered in there. When you don't shoot it great, that's what happens. And when you're not a great passing team and move that ball as well, you don't get as many easy shots. And I think Jarrett and him both benefit from having more skill on that court now. I think both of them. And again, there's no substitute for the year experience he gained again when it wasn't so easy as it was his freshman year.
Rick, having more shooters on the wings, do you think that'll make it harder for teams to try and double Charles in the post?
Well, I think that's kind of easy answer to that question. Can you choose your poison a little bit? Last year, it's real easy to back off in there around Charles, and when you're not a great passing team, it made that pass even more difficult. But I think when you can spread that court out a little bit better, lengthens that, ability to go cover and double, and if you do, you have some guys on the perimeter that probably can help, make them pay a little bit more than last year.
Rick, in talking to the last group of guys, Tavion called Carson a harder worker than Justin Johnson, and obviously that's a tall compliment. It's easy to look at those two guys and make the comparison. But what does Carson bring to the table that maybe Justin didn't, and what are some things that you're looking for him to continue to grow on?
Well, I think we've said from day one there's a lot of comparison in both of them. You know, you compare the two guys, there's some things, a lot of similarities in both their games. They both were post players the first 2 years of college. I remember Justin made 1 3-pointer his first 2 years, and everybody kept telling me it was a luck shot, and I remember watching it was a luck shot. So he made 1 3-pointer. Then you know what he did his junior and senior year then. You know, Carson's very similar. Came in as a paint player, and we've worked hard on his perimeter game, and no question, all that has gotten better. You know, there's a big learning curve still with the mental part of it, and only time will help cure that. But, you know, Justin's probably a little bigger. From there on, though, a lot of similarities. But if you're asking me what Tavion said about Carson being tough, well, there's no question about that. He brings every day, every possession. When that shot's taken, he thinks it's his rebound. And that's a great ability to have. So he gives us a different kind of dimension that for sure we didn't have last year without Justin, for sure.
How important is it to have that kind of guy back in the locker room? Because you saw how important it was to have a Justin Johnson, not just on the court, but off the court, to now have that presence again with Carson. How key is that with his team?
Well, Carson's one of those young men that he done some interviews already. He's not going to say a lot of words now. No, he's, you know, pretty quiet most of the time. So it's not that he's being unsociable with you all, don't like you all. That's just who he is. And that's one part of his game we're on him big time about. He's got to become a better communicator. Because there's one thing everybody really respects. It's how hard he plays. And if you got to choose a guy who talks about it versus doing it, I'll take the guy who never says a word and does it every day. But when you get a guy who does it every day and he talks, now you get the best of both worlds. So what you're talking about, locker room stuff, you know, there's immediate respect for Carson. But the better he can get verbalizing some things, and again, talking's energy. You know, even when you're between those lines, he's going to play hard. But when you're talking, that's even more energy that you give your teammates. So, but we couldn't ask more for him for what he's given us, man. He's a gym rat. One of those guys you got to say, hey, let's back off a little bit. You got to put that bit in his mouth and pull those rings back a little bit, because he's a guy that can, you know, wear his wheels out. But that's a good ability to have.
I know you say you're not worried about starting fives or things like that, but do you still feel like that this might be the deepest team that you've had in your time here in this league?
Well, it'll be the deepest, most experienced. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, as you guys well know, last year, you know, that last half of that season, we got pretty thin over there on that bench. And sometimes you play guys on necessity. Well, I don't feel that way right now. You got to avoid major injuries. I mean, you have some guys sitting on that bench. You feel really comfortable being there. And like I say, there's 8 guys on this team that you feel comfortable saying, hey, they could be starters.
Rick, what are your expectations for Cam Justice?
Well, our expectations for Cam is for him to continue to do those things he does best. And I think it's a great situation for both parties. What we needed, he adds, and what he needs, I think we add to his game. And what I mean by that, we needed to add his skill, and we all talk about his shooting, but he brings skill to the court. And skill means just not physically, but mentally. He sees that next play happening, something you can't teach. You either got it or you don't have it at this point of your career. But it's very obvious he's been a pretty good shooter all his career. I mean, that's one thing that you talk about Cam Justice, ability to shoot the basketball. That goes back from high school days, and he's continued to do it in college. So, and he's shown me nothing through 4 weeks of practice or whatever we've been going at it that makes me think any different. He's been really consistent. You know, he's He's a veteran guy that brings a lot of cerebralness to the game, too. And because his ability to shoot it and pass it helps at post game. That post game helps him. You want to double off of Cam onto Charles. You want to help weak side off of Cam, let that ball get swung back around to him. Well, those are decisions that defenders are going to have to make now, which last year has got pretty easy at times to make that decision.
How much do you have to talk to players about not getting caught up with a starting lineup and, not the first five out there, but embracing their role otherwise, like off the bench and sparks and things like that?
We haven't talked about it a lot, Elliot. As we move forward, we will. Like I say, players determine playing times. You want to play more, you work harder and get better. We all, as coaches, we think we decide playing time. We don't decide playing time. If you're a coach, the guys play the best, most productive, gets the most minutes. If you're not getting as many minutes you want, become more productive and get better. So it's really not as complicated as it sounds. But I think it's very obvious. The one thing on this team, with every team, the only way any individual wins is if a team wins. So there may be some guys have to sacrifice a little bit here or there for what they're capable of doing, and maybe been on some teams that hadn't won as much to help a team win. And that's part of what makes a team successful. Guys willing to sacrifice some things for the better of others, which betterment of the team.
Last year you talked about a fine line between success and then coming up short. What is that fine line this year for you all?
Well, fine line's winning and losing always. You can go back to, people ask the question, well, Coach, how do you feel being picked first in the league? Well, first off, we'd rather be picked first and last. That's for sure. But what does it mean? Well, it just means that, people respect your team. You have a team capable of competing for a championship. But does it guarantee anything? Absolutely not. We were picked first last year. We come in second in the league, and again, that championship game, that's a fine line. Go to foul line, make a free throw. That's winning and losing right there. But again, all you can ask as a coach, player, fan, you put yourself in the position, have that opportunity. And we have that opportunity. And you got to make sure every opportunity you get to take care of that fine line, you take care of that fine line. And that fine line could be the first minute of the game, first 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You guys want to write about the last minute. That's when it gets, exposed more. But again, that basket you give up the first minute of the game, you don't get back in defensive transition, that free throw you miss in the first minute of the game counts the same as that one the last minute of that game. So it's about playing through 40 minutes and, playing every possession as if it's your last. Again, that's easier said than done as a coach, but that's the mentality you got to have as a player.
One more?
Rick, you have 3 Mr. Basketballs.
Okay.
You recruited the state of Kentucky really well. That, something as a coach that obviously you put an emphasis on that. Why? Why is it important to recruit the state so well?
Well, I'd love to have a whole team of Kentucky guys if they're good enough to help you win, compete for championships. But we don't want them because they're from Kentucky and if they're not good enough to help us do what we want to do and compete at the level we want to compete at. But fortunate enough, we think the guys we have from the state of Kentucky are all really good players and people, and no question give us the opportunity to, compete for championships. And again, like I say, I love having the Kentucky guys on this roster. And there's a lot of good players in this state. It's finding the ones, to fit what our needs and what we are looking for. And we've been fortunate to be able to get 5 or 6 now. What is it? How many? 6 on our roster now. And another one committed, right? Can't talk about that one, but you guys know about that one.
Everybody good?
Is that good?